Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
Hey, what makes for a bad English monarch?
I've seen this thumbnail for... Wait, this came out a month ago? Well, I guess a month. I thought I'd been seeing it a lot longer than that. Time is weird. Hey guys, long video-ish, pretty long. Sit back, relax. Let's learn who is and about the worst king in English history, shall we? Is it going to be Henry VIII or something?
Loss of
I heard that he wasn't that apart from the wife killing. Never mind.
territory? The British Empire disintegrated under the rule of Elizabeth II, and many people loved her. Exploitation of their people? Charles I taxed his subjects into oblivion to buy analog NFTs. General sadistic behavior. Richard III probably killed his nephews and definitely drowned his brother in wine. Yet when one thinks of the worst English monarch, one name consistently comes to mind: King John. But this begs the question, was King John really that bad? Yeah, was I really that bad? Yeah, you kind of were.
I don't even know what period that King John 1400s? I don't know.
Through the early Middle Ages, Europe didn't have nations as much as they had kingdoms of culturally similar people, kind of like a high school cafeteria. The Franks were the cool kids, the Byzantines the posh, Anglo-Saxons were the kids from the sticks, Italians were the weird religious kids, the Moors were the foreign exchange students, and the Visigoths were like Goths in our time and were appropriately crushed out of existence. But there was one more clique, the metalheads known as the Vikings. And the turn of the millennia was the height of the Viking Age, with leaders like Rollo the Walker that headbanged his way into France. Oh, okay, you can have some land and we'll call it Normandy. While
I feel like they had the coolest names, like Boneless, and well, he just called him the Walker, so
England was being invaded by leaders like Sven Forkbeard and his son Canute, whose name is far funnier if you have dyslexia. And then in 1066, William, Duke of Normandy, had the best idea this side of combining peanut butter and chocolate: invade England and link the two realms together. And despite him being an invader, the English people cheered at his coronation, which William's guards mistook for an assassination attempt and started massacring everyone. But over the course of William's reign, he unified the two sides, brought Norman culture to England, and established a dynasty that would run smoothly long after he was gone. Or at least until his son Henry I died. This started the Anarchy, which is just about the coolest name for a civil war ever. Suck it, war between the states. Enter Henry II of Normandy, who on account of his exiled mother having claim to the English throne, invaded England at the young age of 14. Come on, guys, it'll be easy. Sire, are you sure? You have no experience, and well, your parents didn't sign your permission slip. So what? I'm 14. That's middle age for the Middle Ages. What's the worst that can happen? So yeah, Mom, we kind of got captured and I need you to come pick me up. Oh no, Henry, I told you not to go, but you just had to prove that you're a big boy now. You know, you're just like your father. Kid, your mother sure is a handful. Tell you what, why don't I make you my heir and we call this whole civil war off? King Stephen, but isn't your son Eustace already your heir?
he felt so bad for his mom, or for him because of his mom. All right. Anyways, what was the average age that you died in the Middle Ages? Because I think, but not counting, like if you made it to 10 years old, were you likely to make it to like 60, maybe like 55? Or you're still probably going to die at like 40 or something?
It would seem God did not want that so. Count Eustace, it's not right to pillage a house of God. If God has a problem with it, he's free to let me know. You missed me, big guy. So with that, Henry became heir to the English throne and shortly after inherited the title of Duke of Normandy and Count of Anjou. Now over in France, King Louis VII was becoming irritated with his wife, Eleanor of Aquitaine. They had been married for 15 years and even went on the Second Crusade together. Eleanor, are you and your Amazonians done cosplaying as crusaders yet?
Considering how well this crusade is going under your leadership, I could ask you the same thing.
When after a decade and a half, Eleanor had yet to give Louis a male heir, both parties were ready for an annulment, and thus pulled out the tried and true royal excuse.
Consanguinity. After checking the records, it has been discovered that Eleanor and Louis are third cousins once removed.
And within weeks, Eleanor got remarried to Europe's most eligible bachelor, Henry II, who was also her third cousin.
Royal lineage is less of a family tree and more of a family braid.
I feel like, given the other examples, that's like as far removed as you're gonna get.
When King Stephen died, now King Henry and Queen Eleanor became the power couple of Europe. There might have been some early awkwardness considering Eleanor was like 12 years older.
Alan Rickman's definitive role was Hans Gruber.
Are you mad? He was and always will be Severus Snape.
Ironically, I liked him best as the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Shut up!
But the one thing that they could agree on is that they really liked having sex with each other, producing 8 children, 4 of the surviving being boys, the youngest of which was named John.
It's about bloody time you got to me.
But when Henry II wasn't getting busy with Eleanor, he was getting busy with England. He reformed legal systems, creating the basis for English. He was getting busy with England. He reformed legal systems, creating the basis for English common law. Okay, so we'll have a unified court system, we'll reinstate juries, and create a cadre of traveling judges with no bias to the local communities. Is there anything else?
Hey!
Can we make it legal to hang toilet paper under rather than over?
Why? I always hang it under, because the way I like to get toilet paper is like so I just finished, right? And then I turn over to get the toilet paper, and I like to do this. I pull it out, and then I like fold it 1, 2, maybe like 3 depending on the ply. That way. And so when it hangs over, then my process of toilet paper folding means that the non-intentional wiping side is then upward. So that's why I like underhanging toilet paper.
God. He also established his authority. Anything else?
Can we make it legal to hang toilet paper under rather than over?
God.
He is a good idea.
Authority over rebellious barons, destroying unlicensed castles across England and making a chunk of change in the process. He regained control of Scotland and Wales, took Ireland, and by combining that with his continental lands, created the Angevin Empire, which was less of an empire and more of a patchwork of kingdoms.
Hey, that's one of those phrases that always confuses me. I got to remember that one. Okay. Angevin is this.
Created the Angevin Empire, which was less of an empire and more of a patchwork of kingdoms and fiefdoms. Now, Henry had to figure out his succession. As part of 1169's Treaty of Montmirail, Henry announced his sons' would-be inheritances. To you, Henry the Younger, my firstborn, you will be King of England, as well as the Duke of Normandy and Count of Anjou. I'd better be. Richard, my second son, you will be Duke of Aquitaine.
Well, at least I won't have to hang out in England. Yuck.
Joffrey, my thirdborn, I leave to you the Duchy of Brittany.
That's right. It's Brittany, bitch.
John.
You
What
get
do you want for an
nothing.
inheritance, boy?
My mind had gone blank. Frantically, I tried to remember what it was I wanted. I was blowing it.
How about a
Okay,
nice
this video.
football?
Football? What's a football?
Football?
Okay, get him out of here.
A football? Oh no! What was I doing? Wake up, stupid! Wake up!
No, I want to rule England and Normandy and the rest of the Angevin Empire and have the tools and bears and people love me forever.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Meanwhile, Henry II began to riff with the Catholic Church.
Christmas Story reference, anyone?
starting a consequential feud.
What? Who to what?
Meanwhile, Henry II began to rift with the Catholic Church, starting a consequential feud with his friend and Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Becket.
Royal courts, church courts, royal courts, church courts. If a member of the clergy is accused of a crime, the church will put them on trial. Like hell they will. Commit a crime in my land and go to my royal courts. Now get out! Will no one rid me of this turbulent priest?
Father, do you really mean that?
No, John. Deep down, I know that he is only doing what he thinks is right. After all, Thomas is one of my oldest friends, a dear colleague.
Is that his
Say,
head?
Knight, what do you have there? Show it to me. What have you done?
But you were enemies.
He was a bishop of Rome!
While John would spend much of his childhood away at school in Anjou, Henry
Is that accurate?
II kept Henry the Younger close, even crowning him as sort of a junior king in 1170, though the young king felt he wasn't being taken seriously.
Dad, I want to be treated like a real king with real power.
You're
What
lucky.
makes you say you're not?
I'm getting none of the taxes, no one respects me, and my crown says Burger King on it.
Oh, does someone need a nap? Hold on a second, John. I've arranged a marriage for you because that's something you do for a 5-year-old, and now you'll get 3 of your brother's castles in Pointu.
Say what? Mom, it's not fair. Those are my castles.
Darling, you will literally have hundreds more.
I've checked with the Continental Barons, the Scots, the Church, even your ex, Louis VII, and they'd all have our backs if we revolted.
Open rebellion against your father? I don't know. Joffrey, why have you joined this cabal?
You know, bros before daddos. Whatever, I'm still workshopping it.
Boys, this will plunge the kingdom into civil war again and rip our family in twain.
Yeah.
Huh?
Not
What's that?
The Queen and I have an open relationship. So how's about we head back to my chambers and I give you the old Norman invasion?
Crush him.
Thus started the Great Revolt of 1173 to 74, in which Henry II just
It's funny and also kind of infuriating, but funnier. That imagine the amount of things in world history that were influenced by petty personal grievances. It has to be an insane amount. Yeah. I'm not saying everything is decided by that, but gotta be a lot. People are petty.
Great Revolt of 1173 to 74, in which Henry II just manhandled everyone.
How did you beat us? We literally had everyone on our side. Well, you forgot one thing. I'm frickin' Henry II. Plus, I figured out a way for the church to forgive me. For your sins against Bishop Becket and the church, we will flog you in view of everyone. What they don't know is, that's my kink. But I understand your frustration. I applaud your agency, and I forgive your transgressions.
Mine as well, right? Love?
Less forgivingly, Henry would imprison Eleanor for the next 16 years.
Yeah, that's about right.
And had
Probably for
John
the best.
rebelled along with his brothers? No, since he was a powerless 6-year-old prince. And this is maybe where historians begin claiming that he was Henry's favorite. But let's
Oh my god, is he gonna win by default?
Prince. And this is maybe where historians begin
Yes.
claiming that he was Henry's favorite. But let's face it, that's like the teacher's favorite being the kid that pees his pants because all the other kids are busy pooping theirs. Speaking of pooping, Henry the Younger, while attempting
do I
another
know the
revolt
other
against
guy?
his father, died of dysentery in 1183. Henry II now
Henry the Younger being the oldest child. That's smart.
saw that the 16-year-old John
Oh, like the younger Henry to him, like Henry Jr.
may actually
Gotcha.
1183. Henry II now saw that the 16-year-old John may actually have a part to play in his dynasty.
Richard, in lieu of your brother Henry no longer being of living status, I declare that you will now inherit England, Normandy, and Anjou.
Oh, do I have to take England?
Yes, you do. Now, in return, I ask that you relinquish your claim to Aquitaine to your brother John.
Screw that.
Dad, can he just refuse
refuse? Yeah, you said that land would be mine. That's not fair. Fair? When my birthright of England was stolen away, did I wait for fairness to resolve the issue? John and Joffrey?
You see, I bet you this isn't that far than a lot of stuff. Guys, there's a sobering thought I have realized. I feel like we look back on history, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, or I'm speaking for others, that, like, there's some kind of, like, whoa, like, that's him. You know, that's, like, Napoleon. It's like they're just guys. They're exceptional guys, a lot of them, but they're just people with... And I bet a lot of times it happened like that.
You better go right this wrong. Together, the two brothers would fail miserably in their conflict against Richard.
Stop hitting each other. Stop hitting each other.
Yeah, it did not go well, and even Henry had to agree that John maybe needed more training as a leader. Maybe you're not ready to take on your brother. Instead, I can make you King John of Ireland. Kneel before me and tremble.
That's it?
Actually, sir, the Pope hasn't signed off on that yet, so, Lord John of Ireland, kneel before me and nervously fidget.
Ah, so you're the son of the English king.
Ooh, are these real leprechauns? Oh, do leprechauns really smell like this? Like peat moss and defeatist literature? No, these are the chieftains of Ireland.
Defeatist literature.
This? Like peat moss and defeatist literature? No, these are the chieftains of Ireland. Over the decades, we've established a fragile, uneasy truce with them. That's cool. Can I pull on their beards? I'm gonna pull on their beards.
Ah, would you let go of me beard? I've never been so insulted in my life. Lads, that's it. We riot.
Within a year, John lost all of his army and money to the Irish insurgents and fled back to England.
Good.
Nice.
The little pup's gone home. Now, tell me, have potatoes arrived in Ireland yet?
No, not yet.
Ah, bollocks.
John would return to England broke and embarrassed. Still, his prospects would improve in 1186 when Joffrey decided to participate in a jousting tournament. Lord Joffrey, you're gonna when Joffrey
Joust do it. Ha
decided to participate in a jousting tournament. Lord Joffrey, your garniture is so well polished it will surely blind your foe. Yeah, I'm shiny as balls. Let's go!
Dead.
My lord, you're alive and mostly unscathed. Yes, thank the Lord. Wait, hold on, what are you putting on my wounds? Oh, just a standard medical sealant of honey. But I'm allergic to honey. And with that, John had lost another brother.
Okay.
And was even more valuable.
Was he just killed in a jousting accident? Or I don't know if it's an accident, if that's what's supposed to happen. In a jousting match. And they just made the honey part up.
To the family. John was on that. John had lost another brother and was even more valuable to the family. John was only 2 heartbeats away from the throne, a future never intended for him. What would he do next?
Get in, loser. We're going rebelling.
Why are you rebelling this time? It's not like I'm getting Aquitaine anymore.
Yeah, I know. Dad finally released Mom, so now she'll get Aquitaine back. But Johnny, you gotta realize that Dad is irrelevant.
He's the king of England!
Which is like being the smartest kid on the short bus. John, England is lame. We're not even speaking English, we're speaking French.
Then why don't we have accents?
Because between the Lafayette and Gouverneur Morris videos, there's enough bad French accents on this channel.
There's always room for one
Gouverneur
more.
Morris?
Who's that?
That's King Philip of France. And yeah, he's a jerk, but remember that our continental holdings are fiefdoms of his kingdom. Face it, John, Dad is decrepit and the British Isles are in the sticks. The
Betrayal.
European continent is where it's at. Normandy, Anjou, Aquitaine, that's what's important.
So, are you in or are you out? John was stuck in a no-win situation. Side with his increasingly ailing father, or betray him in favor of his brother and the French king. Fortunately, fate soon made the decision for him. So Richard is having another go at his old man, is he? It would seem so, my liege, and at the top of the list of the rebels is John. Your Grace? It would appear the king, upon hearing his favorite son has betrayed him, has died of a broken heart. What? A broken heart? Who is he, Padme Amidala? This guy's been coughing up blood for weeks. What kind of doctor are you? Don't you realize that people die of actual causes?
You know, you're right. This king has clearly died because this man is a witch!
And with the death of Henry II,
True.
Richard became King of England and promptly said,
This, I'm going on a crusade.
"You're leaving?"
Hell yeah, I'm not sticking around this store-brand country. Me, Philip II, and the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick Barbarossa are gonna definitely take back the Holy Land. But don't worry, I'm leaving someone to rule in my stead.
Have fun.
Someone I can trust. Someone that deserves the honor. William de Longchamp.
That guy? He looks like white windowless vans will be invented specifically for him.
Longchamp it is. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna drop a Deus Volt on this Saladin guy.
With Richard away, Longchamp quickly let the power go to his head, spending lavishly, arresting rivals, attacking nobles, and just standing there on the left side of escalators. The left
kill
is
him.
for
Kill him. Let me guess. He drives in the high-speed lane the exact speed as the cars next to him in the slow-speed lane. You should be executed for that, okay? If I was king, that's the one crazy maniacal rule I would make that people hundreds of years later would be like, why was this rule made? Yep. Or if you do this, executed. Because, all right, let me explain why. Because the reason this upsets me so much, okay? This on the left side, or is that like these two things, like this, it requires such little thought of other people. It's like the most basic level of empathy you need to not stand there. And so if you don't stand there, I mean, if you do stand there, it shows, that just shows like you don't give a crap about anyone but yourself. And so it's not just the fact that escalators piss me off. It's just a perfect example of the necessity of showing an ounce of empathy. And you'll be like, oh yeah, I should stand over here so people who want to walk up can go. But if you don't, then it's just like, executed on the spot, no trial.
walkers. Eventually, John got word to his brother about the troublesome Longchamp.
Really? Come on. I leave my realm for a second and the whole thing starts falling apart? Fine. Longchamp's out. Can I trust you not to futz the whole thing up before I get back?
Really? Me?
Maybe.
Yeah, I got it. So, how's the crusade going?
It's going. Stupid Barbarossa managed to drown in a river, and Philip II got the sniffles and went home, but I think I'll get the best of this Saladin Joker any day now.
Hey, I heard you got married. You're not expecting any heirs anytime soon, right?
God, no. The only thing I plan on spending less time in than England is my wife. John, I should tell you that I've decided my heir should be a real relative. Real blood. That's why I've chosen my royal heir to be our nephew Arthur, Joffrey's kid.
Arthur? He's
Kill him.
like 2 years old.
So, I was 2 years old once, and I turned out fine. Listen, I gotta go.
Okay. I don't know what happens here. I'm guessing that John kills him or something, but how do you not know that if you were all the way over here and you announce to your brother who would be in line, who's an obvious choice after you're not king, that, yeah, I'm making it my young whatever, who happens to also be right near you, and I don't expect anything bad to happen.
Prick Duke Leopold of Austria is trying to raise his standard next to mine. Yeah, you, Leo, get your bloody rag off the wall and away from my kingly colors. John, I gotta go.
Perhaps it was here when, after a life of being considered irrelevant, then coming so close to power,
I'd
only to
run,
have it
kid.
dashed away yet again, the John we know began to emerge.
Cheerio?
Go to hell. And soon a situation unfolded that would open the door to John's ultimate rise. While Richard didn't succeed in winning back the Holy Land in the Third Crusade, he did succeed in pissing off several European monarchs. And now that the crusade was over, it was game on for political vendettas. Philip II, Richard's main frenemy, made it known that all routes home through France were closed to the English king, forcing Richard to go in disguise through the more hostile path of Austria.
Remember, boys, if anyone asks, we are but ordinary pilgrims.
You didn't go through Gibraltar?
Remember, boys, if anyone asks, we are but ordinary pilgrims.
Halt! Who goes there?
It is I, Richard the Lionheart. Oh, hi, Leopold. My, what a lovely standard you have.
Richard was captured by Leopold and passed along to the new Holy Roman Emperor Henry VI, who held him hostage on the allure of a potentially gigantic ransom and by the persuasion of Philip of France. And
Let me guess, James just like, no.
just what did John do when he found
John, I mean,
out?
sorry.
Okay, we all love Richard, and we should totally pay the ransom. But here's a crazy idea. What if we don't?
What? John, no, we are paying that ransom.
With what money? Richard used all of it on his crusade.
I can't believe Henry VI hasn't released him yet.
My letter to Henry asking him to keep Richard as long as possible couldn't have helped.
What?
Nothing. Anyway, the Angevin Empire will be fine with me running the show.
Are you kidding me? Philip is already nicking our continental lands.
Well, that's only because of the deal that I already made with him.
Where did you learn to be so heartlessly conniving?
Have you met our family? It's nothing but conspiring and rebelling and backstabbing, yet when I finally do it, all I hear is Richard, Richard, Richard. It's not fair.
John, I know what you're thinking, that Richard is my favorite.
But...
Oh, no, that was the end of my sentence. Richard is my favorite.
face it, Mother, Richard's gone, and I'm in charge now, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop me. He's standing right behind me, isn't he? John fled to Paris, fearful of his brother's vengeance.
How'd he get back?
He would have to face the music months later in Lisieux. Richard, knowing his brother was at his mercy, took an unusual approach.
You abandoned your king, your own brother. You conspired for my continued imprisonment, and you usurped my throne. Such crimes should result in you being hung, strung, and quartered.
Please, brother.
But John, have no fear. You are a child, and had bad men
With a
looking after
beard.
you.
Child? I'm 27.
Say it.
I'm a child and had bad men looking after me.
You were merely too feeble-minded to know the error of your ways.
I was too feeble-minded to know the error of my ways.
And your balls smell too.
What does that have to do with...
Say it.
And my balls smell.
I agree.
Good boy.
Now, if you'll excuse me, time to start retaking my lands from that quality adversary, Philip.
For the next year, John was a pariah, excluded from royal
I'd say that that was a hell of a deal from his brother.
functions and properties. But eventually, for the next year, John was a pariah, excluded from royal functions and properties. But eventually, Richard forgave his brother, welcomed him back into the fold, and even made a monumental decision.
So I'm going to make you my official heir.
Really?
Hey,
This is
Richard
awesome.
sounds like a nice guy. The crusade is a bit nuts, but
So I'm going to make you my official heir.
Really? This is awesome! I won't let you down.
Oh no, I'm quite sure that you will, but Arthur's mom sent him to live with Philip, so you're my only choice. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a relatively easy castle in Limosa to raid. And what's better than this? Guys just being dudes. Blimey, it appears I've been pierced with an arrow.
And here's the boy that did it.
Well, I order that no harm come to him.
What?
The shot was fair and true.
But then Richard's wound became
oh,
gangrenous, and 11 days later, he died.
he seems like such a chill guy.
You
Again, except for the taking back the.
know we're going to flay you alive for this. 11 days later, he died. You know we're going to flay you alive for this, right? And with that, John, the fourth son that originally was meant to inherit nothing, became the ruler of the Angevin Empire. This is gonna be great! So, William Marshall, my family's long-term and trusted advisor, what's on the agenda? Well, Philip is invading continental...
Sorry, hold on. He kind of reminds me of how I felt about Napoleon, learning about Napoleon III, and how like he kept having these conniving ways to like go in and be like, all right, I'm the emperor, and just kind of being like not punished and just be like, okay, funny, get out of here. Oh, I'm gonna do it again. Okay, funny, and then he finally just gets it. He just becomes the leader. I'm getting major Napoleon III vibes here.
was meant to inherit nothing, became the ruler of the Angevin Empire.
Sorry, I gotta read that. What'd that say? Am I reading that right, King John? Has everyone else died? They have? What about me? Sure, I'm a simple banner maker, but I'd make just as good a king. I'm glad I read that.
This is gonna be great! So, William Marshall, my family's long-term and trusted advisor, what's on the agenda?
Is he the Bismarck?
Well, Philip is invading continental lands. Some lords want Arthur as king, and the Third Crusade and Richard's ransom have emptied the royal coffers. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna go into a closet and throw up for a little bit. A pressing concern were the continental lands of John's Angevin Empire and which heir they would support. The problem was that the lord of each area could kind of choose who to follow at this point. Normandy, Aquitaine, and Poitou came out for John, whereas Brittany and Anjou initially came out for Arthur, particularly because of his familial ties, and partially because Arthur was also favored by King Philip, who was technically overlord of all of them.
Why did they make King Philip look like Lord Farquaad?
Because Arthur was also favored by King
Lord Farquaad, even the height.
who was technically overlord of all of them.
Shrek.
Immediately after being crowned, John sailed back to the continent. Goodbye, fair subjects. I'm off to secure my empire. For God's sake, can't we get a king that stays in England? I'll miss you too. John knew that he had to do whatever it took to ensure his lord stayed loyal to him. Hey, this monastery looks
Guys,
like...
where does the this haircut come from? The hairdo, like the classic monk style.
That he had to do whatever it took to ensure his lord stayed loyal to him. Hey, this monastery looks like it's seen better days. With me as king, we could totally take care of that. As long as you're loyal, I'm prepared to grant this county commune status and all the economic benefits that go along with it. Listen, if you stay loyal to me, I'll make sure the McRib is a permanent menu item. John was feeling
Good man.
more kingly each day, which made him reassess some of his earlier decisions. What do you mean you want an annulment? I've been a loyal and faithful wife while you've had more homes than a camel convention. I know, Isabella of Gloucester, but you gotta understand, you
No.
homes than a camel convention. I know, Isabella of Gloucester, but you gotta understand, you were fine when I was in line to inherit nothing, but I'm a king now, and let's face it, you're a nobleman's 8, but a king's 4. Oh, and just who do you plan on dumping me for? Isabella of Angoulême. She's beautiful, she's well-connected, she's 12! I know, right? Plus, my personalized license plates will still...
Well, according to the beginning of the video, that's like middle-aged. Jesus Christ. Forget it.
I know, right? Plus, my personalized license plates will still make sense. Well, I refuse. And what makes you think the church will go for this anyway? One word. Concept.
So if you're like 20 years old, like you're considered like there's so many questions.
And what makes you think the church will go for this anyway? One word. Consanguinity. Oh, royal genealogist. It appears my wife and I,
Related.
we're cousins.
Jesus, can't we just stop pretending you're not all related?
Meanwhile, King Philip was pressing hard for Vex.
Wait, so is that a reason rather than keeping it in the family for power, for, keep the land? It's so that in case you don't like your wife, you can be like, oh, wait, look at this, related.
The geographic grundle that's
Related?
The
Meanwhile,
grundle.
King Philip was pressing hard for Vexin, the geographic grundle that separated the traditionally
Gotta be
Norman
sweaty
and French
there.
lands. This area was the largest sticking point as John and Philip sought to negotiate a peace.
Battle of
I
Krejci?
want it all. No
Oh,
way. The splitting of the Vexin was settled years ago when my brother Henry, then age 5, married your sister Margaret, then age 2. Man, we belong to some messed up families. What if I acknowledge you as their rightful heir? Philip? Yes, I, King Philip of France, we recognize you as Lord in Anjou, Brittany, and Poitou, and your claim to the English throne. And all I ask in return is most of our Vexin. And one more thing. You recognize that you rule your continental claims in the name of your true overlord, namely, moi. Would John take the deal? Of course I did. Aside from losing some land in Vexin, I agreed to nothing in this Treaty of Legalea that Richard hadn't already agreed to. Plus, I negated Arthur's claim, and I brought peace to my lands.
Your Grace, there are some that say that you gave up too much, that you should have continued to fight. Some are calling you soft sword.
Soft sword? Let's see him call me that when I get my 12-year-old wife.
Is that an impudent joke? Sorry.
Soft sword? Let's see him call me that when I get my 12-year-old wife home.
Yeah, that comes off much creepier than you realize.
Yeah.
ended the year 1200, the first full year of John's reign, and the king felt pretty good. I bet your uncle's feeling pretty good now, Arthur. I'm sure he does. Wait, Arthur, why are you in France? I thought you made up with him in return.
Sorry, so when did we collectively as humans were like, you know what? Kinda creepy. Maybe we set an age limit on this, huh? I just... Did it happen in the 1900s? In the 80s? What?
Wait, Arthur, why
There's so many questions.
uncle's feeling pretty good now,
I'll be right back. I gotta pee, guys. Sorry, I'm back. I'm good.
Arthur's reign, and the king realized. And so ended the year 1200, the first full year of John's reign, and the king felt pretty good. I bet your uncle's feeling pretty good now, Arthur. I'm sure he does. Wait, Arthur, why are you in France? I thought you made up with him and returned to England. Well, I got the feeling he wasn't over the whole contesting him for the crown thing. I'm gonna kill you when you sleep. Which reminds me, why did you turn on me and deny my claim? Did I? Yeah, you did. Well, Arthur, here's the thing about being king.
Uh-oh.
You get to make the rules. While your uncle may be king of England here on the continent, he still answers to moi. And any good king can find a way to get his way. For example,
Oh my God.
come in.
Jesus Christ. Was that intentional?
A way to get his way.
I thought, he's going downstairs, not down.
For example, come in. Ah, you, LeBron. How may I help you? Well, Jean stole my fiancée, Isabella. You don't say. Oh, you two would have made a wonderful couple. You had so much in common. Oh, as much as an almost 40-year-old man can have with a 12-year-old girl. I know.
Jesus.
But a marriage would have made me the most powerful man in Poitou. And when I, a vassal of Jean, asked for redress, I was denied, and he went after me and my brother. Well, as Jean is a vassal of mine, I will call him here. And I do not see him here now, so I must assume that he is a contemptuous vassal. Take any action needed to right this wrong. And that goes for you too, Arthur. Your Grace? Your uncle is clearly not living up to his
The sneaky music.
responsibilities here on the mainland, and I assume in England as well. And I am prepared to support you once again. And all I ask in return is you relinquish all claim to Normandy. Whoa, that
Smart.
was the coolest, most diabolical thing I've ever seen. I know, I give myself a semi just doing it. Ew. And with that, the truce between the two kings was over.
This wouldn't have happened to Richard.
And with that, the truce
Hey, they use the same bland letter style as I use in my thumbnails.
between the two kings was over.
This wouldn't have happened to Richard.
I know, Mother. John, along with his now 80-year-old mother, Eleanor, headed back to the continent. John to secure support in Normandy, while Eleanor
So is that like
went to her home-
180, 150 in middle age years?
Eleanor headed back to the continent, John to secure support in Normandy, while Eleanor went to her homeland in Aquitaine. And at the castle in Mirabeau, she was besieged by her grandson, Arthur. Give up, Grandma!
Make me, you little brat. And how dare you bring arms against your uncle?
By the custom of Aquitaine, I, son to a brother older than John, have right to the crown.
Okay, but how dare you bring arms against me?
Well, you always did that thing where you lick your thumb and clean my face, and it's gross. It smells. Your spit is gross and it smells weird. But that's besides the point. I have a right to this land, not John, who is a tyrant, a usurper, who... standing right behind me now, ain't he? Hi, Uncle. John had captured his royal rival, and while that should have meant that he had the advantage, it was more complicated than that. One reason was because many of his would-be allies were busy with other matters. Sorry I can't pick up the phone. I'm reaffirming my Angevin empire. Leave a message after the... beep. Hey, John, it's Pope Innocent. I know you've been dodging me about this Fourth Crusade thing. Listen, the Holy Roman...
The Pope must have been so annoying back then, just like someone who like you have to deal with, because if you didn't, then there'd be some kind of, I guess, outcry in our own country being like, wait. But I'm starting to get the feeling that Henry VIII did a good thing by creating the Anglican Church. It's like, oh, I gotta deal with this guy again. Get out of here.
With other matters. Sorry I can't pick up the phone. I'm reaffirming my McJibbin empire. Leave a message after the beep. Hey, John, it's Pope Innocent. I know you've been dodging me about this Fourth Crusade thing. Listen, if the Holy Roman Empire isn't on this, you better be too. Call me back. Ahoy, ahoy. Oh, hey. Yeah, how's the crusade going? What the f***? Well, John still had a valuable hostage in Arthur, and he took him to his Norman capital of Rome, and it was in a castle there that one of the most scandalous...
Hey, his dad gave you a chance. The way I know, the reason I know this video is super good is because I even feel like I'm following it after one watch through. Like, somewhat.
Events in Norman capital of
amazing
Rome,
video so far.
A castle there that one of the most scandalous events in medieval history took place. You dirt-eating piece of slime! You scum-sucking pig! You son of a motherless goat! I'm gonna cut your heart out with a spoon! Why a spoon, my lord? Because it's dull, you twit.
Super hardcore.
More. You just wait until I come back. Sire, is it wise to kill the boy? No, William de Bruce, and I have no intention of killing him. He's my leverage against the rebels of the South. As long as I have Arthur, who did illegally challenge me, I have both a pressure point and the moral high ground. As long as he's alive and in my custody, I'm golden. Now let's go scare him some more. Arthur, holy shit!
Why are there daggers?
All history knows is that no one ever saw Arthur again, and that, coupled with Philip's advancements in Normandy, forced John to retreat back to England, where support for retaking of the continental lands was lacking. Okay, barons, let's get ready to head to France. No.
Why?
No, I'm your king. Yes, king of England, and those are lands in France. Yeah, but we got a thing going on.
Come on.
Like an Angevin thing. You've got an Angevin thing. We have lands here in England. Of course, we're English. You know what? I don't care. I'm just gonna say it. You guys aren't good friends. But it's all good. As long as Chateau Gaillard in Normandy is still ours, I'm still good. Sir, Chateau Gaillard has... Don't say it. It has fallen? All right, somebody chop this guy's freaking head off. By 1204, what had started off as a successful reign had turned into a reign of misery, and it just kept coming down. My king, after visiting the continent, I can report that many Norman nobles have taken to Philip, as he is ultimately their real king. But Philip is offering peace. He is? Yes! And all he asks is that you first hand over Arthur. Oh, that's not gonna work.
Well, at least you have some land left in France.
Sorry, I'm also getting like Otto von Bismarck, Kaiser Wilhelm II vibes.
Oh, that's not gonna work.
Well, at least you have some land left in France.
I do?
Aquitaine, the land of my birth. You can rest assured that as long as I live, Aquitaine will remain loyal.
Mother, it appears that you've stopped breathing.
It appears I have.
Like 100.
That's it! Enough is enough! If Philip thinks I'm gonna sit back and watch him take everything that I've earned, inherited... Shut up, Marshal. Everything I've earned, he's got another thing coming. King John had an invasion fleet of 51 ships assembled and ready to go the following year. Accompanied by thousands...
Is this where the 100 Years' War starts, or were we already kind of in it?
Thousands of soldiers, many of which were paid mercenaries since some English nobles avoided the call. Onward to victory! Right, Marshal? Go get him, sire! I can't come since I had to promise Philip not to take arms against him in order to retain my lands in Normandy, but you look badass! Damn it, Marshal. Archbishop Hubert Walter, are you here to bless me as I bring the full might of England against France? No, sire. I'm here to ask what happens if France invades while the full might of England is gone. Well, we'll just... The Navy will... And the Army... crap. Call off the invasion, everybody. Gee, thanks, Archbishop. Is there anything else you'd like to do to complicate my life? Yo, did that guy just die? He did, which left the position of Archbishop of Canterbury, the highest religious office in England, vacant. John knew the importance of the position and wanted a yes man in there, selecting John de Grey.
Just pick yourself.
importance of the position and wanted a yes man in there, selecting John de Grey. Meanwhile, the
That'd be pretty badass, having the like popey hat or like the archbishop hat, a crown around it.
Canterbury secretly selected one of their own, selecting John de Grey. Meanwhile, the monks of Canterbury secretly selected one of their own, Archbishop Reginald. With competing candidates, the decision went to...
I, Pope Innocent III, have reviewed your choices and have determined... Well, I've determined that you're all a bunch of Stugats. You monks, really? Reggie? You must be hitting that
Jewish?
sentimental wine too much. And you, John, when you lost Normandy, you must have lost your frickin' mind too, thinking I'm gonna let you decide. No, my choice for the Archbishop of Canterbury is... Cardinal Stephen Langdon. Langdon? Are you kidding me? What? He's a renowned theologian and an Englishman who spent the last 30 years in Paris under the patronage of King Philip. Doesn't mean he won't be impartial. He's wearing a croissant as underwear. I refuse. Listen here, Johnny boy. I know that you're used to those pushover popes, but I ain't that guy. I'm the kind of pope that'll transubstantiate my foot up your ass. Now, are you gonna accept my boy Langdon, or am I gonna have to get unpleasant?
But John was unwilling to...
So did the Pope, like, where does the Pope's power come from? So the Pope, did he have like an army of his own, or did he just have, you know, the authority of being the Pope and just knowing that his word could really sway other armies, you know?
to budge, and by 1208,
get unpleasant.
But John was unwilling to budge, and by 1208, Pope Innocent placed England under interdict, meaning that with the exception of baptizing infants and hearing the confession of the dying, the church was closed.
Yeah, because this is totally the way that I told you guys to behave. For my sake. Can I get a drink?
For my sake.
Really? The interdict did present John with an interesting opportunity, though.
Father, is there mass today?
No, not today.
Yes.
Not until King John accepts the decision of our... Holy crap! Your Majesty, what is happening?
Well, you clergy were given this land and wealth because you were saving everybody's souls and whatever, right?
Yes.
But now you're on strike, right?
Well, yes.
So bye-bye.
All right, you heard the guy. Let's repo this place. Ooh, I've always wanted one of these.
Yes!
The Pope's punishment turned into a
Put the crown on the outside.
jackpot for John, who knew that for him to take back the continental The Pope's punishment turned into a jackpot for John, who knew that for him to take back the continental territories from King Philip, he was going to need a lot of money. And he didn't stop with the clergy. The nobles were taxed, the peasants were taxed, the monks were taxed.
Why is it that like accountants get this see-through stereotypical small green visor?
He didn't stop with the clergy. The nobles were taxed, the peasants were taxed, the monks were taxed.
Magna Carta.
And forest law got so bad that you couldn't hunt, gather wood, dig a ditch, carry a bow, pet a squirrel, or just chill with your merry men without getting a fine. Even old debts of close friends were being called in.
William de Braz, I know you're in there. Oh, hello, Maud de Braz. Where's your husband?
I ain't seen him. What's it to you? Well, he still owes me 5,000 marks, and if I don't get it today, I'm taking you and your son as hostage till I get my money.
You really think my William is just gonna let you take us hostage? You think he's afraid of you, John Lackland?
Yeah, you're right. BT Dubs, isn't that him boarding a ship bound for France? Oh, poop. Maud and her son were thrown into the dungeon of Cork Castle. At this point, it seemed that John had angered and alienated his entire kingdom.
Your Highness, this has caused massive discontent with the barons.
Why? Why am I the bad guy for this? My dad used to take hostages and blind and castrate them.
But sire...
And Richard was like knee-deep in the blood of Muslim prisoners on his crusade.
But sire...
Fine, I'll make the snowflake barons happy and bring them some food.
Wait, how long have they been there without food?
Okay, don't get mad.
Dear Lord!
Yeah, I think 11 days without food and water might have been too long.
Whoops.
Ah, It appears she bit into his face in her starving desperation. Well, the woman always was a little cheeky. What, too soon? While this was going on, John set to asserting his dominance in the British Isles.
What's
He
the
led his
yellow
forces
part?
up to Scotland to confront the 68-year-old King William the Lion. Will you swear fealty to me? What did you say? I said, will you swear fealty to me? What? Will you? Forget it. Alexander, swear fealty on behalf of your father, or I'll kill the lot of you. You're filled with snot and poo? What does that even mean? He returned to Ireland, this time brutally suppressing the Irish, forcing their kings to flee and replacing all his former Anglo-Norman barons with yes-men. Lastly, John was able to bring
Ted
Welsh
Cruz.
King Llewellyn the Great to heel, meaning that I, King John, rule over England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales as no man has ever done before. That's great, but are you finally going to go to France to reconquer your land there? I'm going. It seems like you're going in the opposite direction. I'm going the long way. The earth is round, you jerk. But something John couldn't avoid was his conflict with the church, because in late 1209, John was officially excommunicated. With this, all of his vassals could potentially abandon him, others could claim his throne, and a war on England could even be considered a holy crusade. John had to do something.
Yep. Get rid of, yep.
In late 1209, John was officially excommunicated.
Oh, that's so annoying.
Had to do something. You could not live with your own failure. And where did that bring you? Back to me. Your Holiness, I see the error of my ways and the wisdom of yours. I beg for your forgiveness, and I'm ready to consecrate Langdon as the Archbishop of Canterbury. Good, good. I believe that you are truly penitent and deserving. Your excommunication will be lifted. Oh, thank you, Holy Father. But I do just ask for one more thing. You gave England and Ireland to the Pope? Oh, you bet I did, and I will continue to rule England and Ireland as a vassal for the church. But sire, is that wise? Marshal, these are now holy lands, and those who might rebel would be rebelling against the church. Those who might attack would be attacking God. Couldn't that give the Pope too much power in England? I don't foresee that ever becoming a problem. Though I gotta say his new branding for the kingdom is a little bit tacky. But it doesn't matter, because my land is safe, my power is secure, and there's one last thing I gotta do to bring it all together. Marshal, we're going to France. In 1213, it was finally time for the Angevin Empire to strike back. In May, an English fleet of 500 ships ambushed the French fleet at the Flemish port of Dam, preventing any chance of a French invasion and bringing in a huge haul of treasure. Then in 1214, John assembled an Avengers-level anti-French coalition that included the Counts of Flanders and Boulogne and John's nephew and new Holy Roman Emperor, Otto IV. John would invade via his last stronghold of Aquitaine, while the rest of the coalition would invade from the east. It initially went well, with John even scaring off Philip's son Louis, who had been sent to intercept him. Sire, shouldn't we press on? Don't be ridiculous, Marshal. By staying here, we're dividing the strength of Philip's forces, which are about to run into a vastly superior and overwhelming coalition army. Mark my words, this is the end of France and the rebirth of the Angevin Empire. Your Highness, I have news from the east. Tell it to me. You might want to read it somewhere private. Nonsense. Say it out loud
Proclaim
for
it.
all to hear. Okay. We're f***ed. Philip has crushed our coalition forces at the Battle of Bouvines. Otto fled the battlefield. Half the counts were captured. Our knights and infantry are in shambles, and this war is essentially lost. You pretty much couldn't have taken a bigger L if you tried. And that was it. In order to gain a truce with Philip, John was forced to officially hand over Anjou, the last of his father's lands in France. He left France in October, never to return again. Goodbye, sweet continent. Alas, the bright side is, at least I still have England. Are you sure about that, sire? Just once can I say something remotely optimistic without getting kicked in the balls. And after years of abuse and overtaxation, as well as John relentlessly getting freaky with their daughters and wives, many of the earls and barons of England had had enough.
That it. You've been ruling like an absolute tyrant, and we've
Magna?
had it. If you don't agree to King Henry I's old Charter of Liberties, we'll have no choice but to rebel against you.
Sure, I get it. Let me just take this Charter of Liberties and I'll give it a quick read and I'll get right back to you. Innocent, you gotta help me out. The barons are threatening to rebel. God damn it, John, you're like tits on a bull. Give me one good reason I don't just let Philip march up there and clear you out.
Oh,
Because
useless. Okay.
If you help me out, I'll go on a crusade. That's right, I'll free the Holy Land. John, Bobby, you've managed to lose an entire empire. What makes you think that you'll be a good crusader? Pope, do you remember how the most recent Fourth Crusade worked out? How could I be any worse? Read it and weep, jerks. Pope says you have to cut it out or you're all looking at excommunication. May I see it, your highness? Yes, and maybe you can talk some sense into these barons. What did you do? That was from the Pope! Oops. It's treason, then. Tensions were ready to explode. The rebel barons, fueled by leaders like Roger Fitzwater and Stephen Langton, openly rebelled against John and even occupied London. By June of 1215, John agreed to meet the rebel leaders in a meadow called Runnymede.
Okay, so we've gone over consent
Magna
for
Carta?
taxation, financial penalties on the nobility, and pardons for us. Oh, and we want in writing that no free man shall be seized, imprisoned, or ruined in.
Okay, so essentially he sucks because he lost all of the land that he inherited and then also slashed the king's powers in his own reign. Good.
Any way except by the lawful judgment of his peers and the law of the land.
When has that ever been an issue? Fine. Are we done?
One more thing. We want a council of 25 barons to make sure that you are living up to the charter, and if not, we have the lawful right to do something about it.
Okay. Maybe now that we've agreed to this Magna Carta, we can have some peace. War! That's what we're gonna do! But I kinda already signed it. Did you forget England belongs to me? And by the power invested in me, I declare this garbage invalid and shameful. Get a grip on my kingdom now, John! And so started the First Barons' War, which brought an old foe back into the mix.
Farquaad.
What is it, mon chéri? I'm not sure, but I just woke up with the most wonderful boner! As John and his forces fought rebellious barons in the north, the barons reached out to Prince Louis.
Note that some nobles stayed loyal to John.
The barons reached out to Prince Louis of France, offering him the throne on account of him also being Henry II's grandson. John raced to Dover and had a fleet assembled to repel the impending invasion. This is the greatest fleet in English history! It will surely repel Louis's invasion, though those clouds seem a bit ominous. Nonsense.
Oh,
and as I always say, you need a few clouds to make that beautiful sunset. One storm later. Sire, the storm has destroyed our fleet, and Louis is coming ashore. That sounds like a you problem. Louis and his French forces had made landfall and were headed towards John, who had stopped in East Anglia to raise support for his cause. Sire, Louis has already made it through London with little resistance. Well, my mercenary should slow him down.
Uh-oh.
Your Majesty, are you
Toilet.
all right? Yeah, I've just been feeling off lately. Let me ask you, how much blood in what seems to be continual diarrhea is considered alarming? John had contracted dysentery.
50%.
Within days, he was on his deathbed. At least it can't get any worse. Your baggage train with all the crown jewels has sunk into quicksand. You know, as soon as I heard it out loud, I knew I was setting myself up. Marshal, I must ask, was I a good king? Well, you were the best king that you could be. But you could have just said yes. I'm about to die, and you don't gotta be such a dick about it. And on October 18th, 1216, King John died. John's son, Henry III, was quickly crowned King of England. William Marshal acted as his regents, and with the ire of their discontent dead, convinced most of the barons to abandon Louis and turn on their would-be French usurper like any good Englishman should. The Magna Carta, John's agreement to be limited in his power, would be revised and reissued throughout the 13th century, which explains the unnecessary tauntauns now placed throughout. And all that was left of John was his legacy, which, through the medieval chroniclers, Renaissance writers, Victorian morality, and modern pop culture, has him as the worst.
To be fair, given what he was, given the situation he became king in, I'm not sure there's much that anyone could have done to stop that deteriorating situation in France. But yeah, I mean, you can't deny that the kingness or the kingshipness, being king, changed a whole lot under him, and the borders obviously did of England, or of their, their places in France. So, worst king in English history? I don't know. I don't know enough about English history to really make an argument or rebuttal. But he definitely seems like he was king during an extremely significant time in European history overall, and English history for sure.
Born into an incredibly dysfunctional family, initially meant for nothing, inheriting an untenable empire, probably wasn't the worst English king. Unfortunately, John was the best king that a person like John could be. Dude, I'm right here.
John, it appears your video is finally finished. Took long enough. To celebrate, I think I'll kick back and watch a movie. I have a better idea. Why don't we watch another Drawn of History video?
Hey, vlogging through history was in this?
Dude, I'm right here.
John, it appears your video is finally finished. Took long enough. To celebrate, I think I'll kick back and watch a movie. I have a better idea. Why don't we watch another Drawn of History video? Of course, after we subscribe and hit the bell notification, we could even become Patreon patrons of Drawn of History, supporting his channel and getting cool perks. I think I'd rather watch a movie.
Great video. Wonderful. I definitely learned a lot, and I feel like I actually retained some of the information for once after one go through of a pretty long video. Cool. I love you guys. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you if you stayed around this long. I can't talk. And yeah, I'd appreciate any and all comments, any answers to any questions I had, any comments in general. Love to see it. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.